Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And for those of you that are new here, I'm Gwen, and I'm a 66-year-old woman of transgender experience, currently documenting my transition and making all kinds of fun content. So, how is everyone today? Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Here we are, start of the week already. As you can see, it's kind of a nice day out today, so I thought maybe I would come outside for a little bit. Um, got some news I can talk about as we walk around that come up this week. So let's see, I can go grab my camera here and we can walk around. So let's see. Um, Bear with me one second. There we go. Oops. There. All right. So with that said, tilt my camera. There we go. Um, Oops. With that said, let's see. Yesterday, I had my stress test, and I got my cardiac clearance, which is really, really awesome. Um, see if we can put this. There we go. Put that on. Go walk around a little bit. Um, so let's see. The stress test. Oh, come on, dude. There we go. The stress test. I got in there yesterday, and they said, well, you're going to be walking on the treadmill. Okay, all right. I says, are we going to be doing any running? Oh, no. No, we never have patients run. Like, okay. Um, is the treadmill what the angles are going to be like? Oh, well, they vary. I'm like, okay. So we start off, we do an echocardiogram and an EKG. My heart looked pretty good. Um, got on the treadmill and I started walking, and they sped it up a little bit, and then they changed the incline, and they says, how you doing? And I says, really, really good. Okay, well, we're going to speed it up some more. We're going to change the incline. I'm like, okay, that's fine. How you doing? I says, I'm doing good. You have any problems? No, I'm not. So we got probably about 10 minutes into it, and they said, um, we're going to have to really speed this up to get your heart rate up. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to incline it, and you're probably going to wind up running. Okay, that's fine. I was amazed. The incline, my treadmill at home goes to 12 degrees. The incline was 18 degrees, which I thought was unbelievable. And the speed was 5 miles an hour, which, if it's a 0 degree incline, I can normally run it. Essentially, 5 miles an hour is about 3.1 kilometers per hour. But anyways, so it was 5 miles an hour at 18 degrees. I'm running. I was actually able to do it. Got my heart rate up into the zone that they wanted. And they says, well, how far do you want to go? And I says, well, I'm starting to feel it in my upper legs. So they says, okay, we'll run you another 30 seconds. By this time, it had been 3 minutes at that speed and incline. So it got me off the table. I'm sorry, got me off the treadmill, onto the table, did another echocardiogram at the high heart rate so they can check my arteries. They were looking for blockages, which there was none. Got all done, and both the nurse and the technician said, oh my gosh, we have never had patients do as well as you did, and it's very few patients that actually run. And I'm like, this is what I normally do. So got dressed, waited probably about 10 minutes, and they put me in an exam room. The doctor comes in. He says, "Oh, the nurses were really telling me." He says, "How good you did." I says, "Well, I didn't think I did that good." Yeah. He says, "You did." I'm like, "Okay." So he sits down in front of the computer and calls up all the results, and he's like, "Oh my gosh." He goes, "You're quite fit." And I'm like, "Really?" I didn't personally, I don't think I am. I mean, I'm in good shape. I'm not in excellent shape. He's like, "No," he goes, "You're really," he goes, "for somebody your age," he goes, "you're in really fantastic condition." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." So he's looking over the results and he says, "I can't find anything wrong." He goes, "With your heart." He goes, "Are your arteries?" He says, "Back a month ago when we did the heart monitor," he goes, "Yeah, you had a couple of instances, nothing major." He goes, "I did notice," he goes, "you were having some heart rate spikes." He says, "Kind of like late morning." I says, "About 9 to 11 in the morning." He goes, "Yeah." I says, "I was out walking." "Oh," he goes, "Well," he goes, "that explains it." He goes, "I'm not going to worry about it." I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, "Well, um, everything looks really good." He goes, "Unless you come up with some problems," he goes, "there's no need for you to come back." Oh my gosh. And he says, "As far as I'm concerned," he goes, "you're cleared for surgery." I'm like, "Oh, perfect segue." I says, "I happen to have the paper here." I hand him the piece of paper. I says, "That's the prescription." He's like, "Okay." He goes, "Can I keep it?" I says, "Yes." He says, "The doctor's contact information is on there. Everything you need to know is on there." He's like, "Okay." I says, "I did put on there that I need a signed EKG." He's like, "Not a problem." He says, "What I'm going to do," he goes, "I'll give this to the secretary." And he goes, "We will get this off this week to your surgeon and your primary care doctor." I'm like, "Wonderful." That was it. And here we are. So, like, "Oh, I'm sorry. We did talk about pacemaker." He goes, "Nope." He goes, "Your heart rate is low." He goes, "Because you're so fit." He says, "I have patients," he goes, "that are less fit than you are, have their heart rate in the range that you are." He goes, "And they're not on pacemakers." He goes, "Yes, you are having low heart rates, but it's happening 2 to 4 a.m. in the morning." He goes, "If it was low during the day," he goes, "then we would be of concern." He goes, "But until that happens," he goes, "I'm not going to worry about it." I says, "Well, is there a chance I may someday need a pacemaker?" He says, maybe 5, 10 years." He goes, "Maybe never." He goes, "As long as you're doing what you're doing," he goes, "I don't see a need for it." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." So that was really, really super wonderful news. I think Sunday, it wasn't much of a weekend. Sunday, I went to the thrift store with my daughter because she has this cosplay convention she's going to middle of November, and she was wanting to dress as a Marvel comic book hero that she likes. So we went to the thrift store and she got clothing so she could dress as the character, which I thought was awesome. She did a really good job. We found between the thrift store and Walmart, we probably found 90% of her costume. So she was, but regardless of that, her and I got to spend about 3.5 hours together, which was really, really kind of nice. I mean, I don't get to spend a lot of time with her because she works from 3 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. at night. So I don't get to see her very much, mostly just in the weekends or if I'm working remote at home before she goes to work. So that was kind of really, really nice to do that. As far as this weekend goes, Sunday, I may meet up with some girls on Saturday. I don't know yet. Sunday I have a play date for my whippets. This is going to be different. Instead of being outdoors because it's supposed to rain, this is going to be an indoor place, which I thought would be kind of different, kind of nice. So we'll have to see how that goes. Um, God, I really don't have much else to really talk about. Just thinking kind of some future videos, maybe talking about, mm, not that I'm an expert, but what has worked for me as far as like makeup, um, maybe some clothing tips, whatever. Um, but that's maybe for next week. We'll see. Because who knows? Because like I said, this weekend is going to be kind of so maybe I'll have something to talk about next weekend. Um, oh, I know one thing I haven't. I know you've seen pictures of my barn. You've seen pictures of my backyard. Let's see if I can do this. There is the front of my house back behind us. And it looks like a log cabin, but it is really not a log cabin. Um, those that may understand how a house is built, it's a stud frame house, 2x6 stud frame. Um, and then they wrapped the house with, Tyvek wrap to prevent air infiltration. And then the logs are actually milled on three sides. They look like a capital D, and they're 3.5 inches thick, white cedar. And then they are nailed to the studs with the insulation in the walls and the logs. On the inside, we could drywall, which we did, or put up wood paneling, so you don't see the wood on the inside. But anyways, the walls with the insulation and the logs, what did I figure out to be, is like an R27, which is equivalent to a little bit more than 8 inches thick of insulation. So to heat my house, yes, it is actually, see if we can get a little bit closer. It actually is quite inexpensive. We used to heat with propane, but it got to be too expensive. There is no natural gas here. Actually, yes, right behind me, you can see my wood pile. And on an average season, in our wood stove, which can heat the whole house, we will burn between 5 and 6 face cords of wood on a season. So, anyways, I guess that's it for me for this week. So I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Um, as always, stay safe, um, stay stay warm, stay healthy, have a stellar weekend. And again, as always, like, share, subscribe. If you have any comments, as many of you know, I answer all comments. If you have any suggestions, maybe of something you may want me to talk about, please, by all means, put it in the comment section below. I'm always up to, talk about something different. You don't have to listen to me babble on about my life all the time. So I guess that's pretty much it. So until next week, actually next Tuesday, love you all, and I will see you here next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.